Alright, so first things first, let's take off the wheel, and we're going to jack up the bit. You can actually see the jacking point. Alright, wheel is off. Next step is going to be to remove the caliper, but I'm actually going to remove this guy, which both of mine are stripped. Highly recommend getting new parts. I have a new one in the van. Hopefully this one comes out. Don't need to over torque it to the, I think it's 204 inch-pounds. And then the reason I'm gonna get that first is just because the caliper and brakes have a little more friction. So when trying to hold the rotor and get that bolt out, makes it a little easier. And then if not, I'm gonna wedge the wheel under the rotor, which I might do anyway. All right, brake caliper off. Those bolts were insanely hard to get out, and that being said, spray them with a little can of oil just to keep them lubed. And I already loosened this guy, so now we're just gonna take the rotor off. And usually I have a bungee, but I did the other bearings yesterday, and I think I left the bungee out here and someone took it. So I actually think this works better though. Just use the jack stand or some box or a Home Depot thing to hold it up and make sure that the wires are, you know, facing the appropriate way. So yeah, we're gonna take the rotor off. All right, the rotor is off, and definitely wanna make sure you have brake cleaner on hand, right? This is not good. So we'll spray that once we're finally done. And now we have the hub, and I mean we're gonna pry off the hubcap next, and then we'll make a video about that. Holy shit, found the problem. This thing should be spinning freely, and I can feel, God, it's rough as hell. So fuck yes. Hubcap is off, grease is black, not great. And again, I mean, this thing is crunchy. All right, so grease all black. This was pretty rough to get out. I'm gonna degrease and clean the lock nut and thrust washer. I mean, look at that, dude. So no washer in there. That you don't want to hear. So now we're gonna pop this out. Gonna try to figure out which one, and I'll do another video, but I mean, look at that, dude. That is horrible. All right, if you guys can see, there are, I mean, dude, this thing's shredded. I think you can tell all that. That's not grease. There is grease, but that's metal. So this thing's fucked. That's what the spindle looks like. Gonna clean that off. Here's the spindle after, and looks like some, I don't know, heat discoloration. So I'm gonna clean that with degreaser. This one was from Home Depot. Said for heavy machinery, engine parts, and tools, I think any degreaser will work. And then I'm going to use the wire brush. I'm gonna get around here, I'm gonna get that, I'm gonna get that, and just clean the hell out of that. Okay, just went to town on this. Now, degrease again, and then let's wipe off. I'm gonna dry this very thoroughly. How dirty that is. And also, while you're here, it's your speed sensor. Definitely want to clean that off. Nice and pretty. All right, so for this part, back in my apartment, And this is the seal. This is the inner race. And then if we flip this, this is where the outer bearing was, all that black grease. And then that is the outer race. So we're gonna punch that out. We're gonna pry out the seal, and then we're gonna punch, well, then the bearing is gonna fall out. So we're gonna pry the seal, pull out the bearing, and then I will take another video and show you the inner bearing race, which we will also punch out. This is from the other bearing that I did. This is the inner bearing race, and this is the outer bearing race. They actually looked pretty good, but I have a new set, so I am just going to replace them. And then we're going to clean out all the grease. So this thing, I'm going to degrease the crap out of it and dry it off, and then we'll go to the next step. It's having some trouble getting the seal out. So this setup worked for me, and came right out. And so here is the inner bearing. I'm just gonna pull that out. And this one actually looks pretty good. So it looks like my outer bearing was the only one, but again, I have the set. We're replacing both. I have no idea when this one was replaced. So I personally I like to know the timetable of my maintenance items. So still gonna replace it, but overall the first look looks pretty legit. And the grease is still has a hint of red, which is good. All right, so done the majority of the cleaning, but now I want to get the races out. So you can see right here at the very tip of my glove, that little lip is the outer race that we're going to punch out. And because I'm not reusing these races, I bought a steel punch set. And this is a pretty thin one. Let's see. Got this from AutoZone, and it looks like this is an 1/8. This is what I use for the outer race, and then the inner race, I used both, but I finally got it with the 3/16. So outer race lip right there. And if we flip this, boom, inner race inside, like, oh, that blocks the light, but I'll show you. So I'm gonna punch like that. All right, so both races are out. And here's the bad part about using steel. Got chunk out of that one. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's gonna matter because the race is going to sit. Or it's gonna cover those. So don't recommend, but here we are. All right, so here is the race and seal toolkit. I already have it set up from yesterday. So for the inner race, 72 millimeters, and we'll check that. All right, so I have degreased. I got brand new gloves and got the Mercedes, can't get it to focus, high temp anti-friction bearing grease. Part number right there. All the parts will be in the description. This is the green stuff. So we're going to put a light film along the the race and then, or the spot where the race is gonna go, and then we'll also put a light film on the race itself. And because we're working with the grease now, that is why, sorry it's not focusing. That is why we are using new gloves. So here's the race. It fits, the bearing fits in like that. So we're going to set it like that. And then the way you know you have the right size is it fits in. So we're going to use not a steel hammer, we use a dead blow hammer. This has sand in it. I'll be honest, I really don't know why, but this seems more mellow, and I was able to get the seal or the race in yesterday. So we're gonna do it again. And basically, you're gonna line it up. And again, tapered. The OCD in me, just gonna make sure that that does indeed fit. Cool. So we have it the right way. You kind of line it up best you can. And once you have it pretty lined up, just put this on and hammer it in. And you'll know, like, the sound is very evident when you've hit the bottom. And you'll also, I'll show you in a sec how you can check. All right, outer race is going in. For this one, I used a 50 millimeter. I think if you can get like a 51, like this works, but it's not ideal. All right, both races are in. I've greased the inside as well. And now I'm gonna pack the bearings and put the seal on. All right, so bearings in, seal is about to go on, and all you do is flip this, and now the flat side, line it up, and this one I use the dead blow hammer. Outer bearing is greased up, spindle is greased, hub is ready to go back on. All right, bearing is in, washer is in. That's gonna sit on there. And now put the lock nut on. That side is gonna go back. And then we are going to just tighten that on there. And then the torque rating for this is 9 foot-pounds, which I don't have a torque wrench that goes that low in terms of foot-pounds, but I do have a inch-pound. So 9 foot-pounds is 108 inch-pounds, and thanks to someone on the forum, 36 millimeter fits this. The only thing is that once you put your locking screw in there, it doesn't fit. So basically I'm gonna torque it to 9, and then I'm gonna try to get my screw in there. If I can't, I'm gonna take a picture of where it was at, and then I'm gonna tighten it again and then get my dial indicator. All right, so locking nut is not tight yet. Sounds much better. And what we're gonna do now is we're going to put the rotor on with that brand new piece. And then we're gonna use that guy and then a lug nut. And then we're going to check the play. Rotor's back on. All right. Here's what the dial indicator looks like. So I got it pretty close. And then we're just gonna get this in there. I gotta use both hands. All right, so it's in place. I'm gonna turn it on. and zero it out. And then I'm gonna grip from the top and the bottom, and I'm gonna wiggle and see what that number spits out. I'm going to attempt to film this again. Pulling pretty hard here. I'm getting about, I thought I got 2. Yeah, there's 2. So I feel pretty good about that. I mean, this thing spins real nice. So look at that. No sound. Love it.